The Ruger LCR in 9mm. Let's check it out. Ruger is known for its revolvers, all the way up to the Super Red Hawk, all the way down to the LCR. And the LCR is a very compact, lightweight revolver. Really, there's a lot of features to these that are pretty much state-of-the-art. And one of the big advantages of the LCR to me has been the trigger pull. Now, it comes in a number of different calibers, but today we're going to take a look again at the 9mm. And there are some advantages to this caliber, and there are also some disadvantages, and we're going to talk about both. But it's a very lightweight, handy revolver. It compares very close to the Smith & Wesson line of J-frame revolvers. But really, the LCR kind of stands on its own. Now, I picked up this LCR 9mm at our local Palmetto State Armory retail store. And I was able to do that because of the support of Patreon. And if you want to support us on Patreon, go to patreon.com/suit00. Ruger introduced the LCR series in 2009. Then they introduced the LCRx, which is the hammer-fired version, in 2013, and then the LCRx in 9mm in 2017. LCR stands for Lightweight Compact Revolver. Now, there's a couple of differences, not only the hammer, but also this frame area right here, the monolithic frame. This is in stainless steel, 400 series stainless steel, which the original LCRs with the double action only frames are in aluminum. So this weighs about 17.5 ounces versus the standard LCR at about 13.5. So you got a little more heft to it, and that can be important when you're firing, especially magnum loads. 9mm has definitely got a little bit of a punch to it. It is a high pressure round. But the monolithic frame, you can see right here there's the divide with the polymer, and then you have the frame here. And your stainless steel cylinder, which has a PVD finish on it. So you have a matte finish on the regular part of the frame, and then we have the PVD finish. Then here you can see the barrel coming through, and it is in a stainless. So it's a very compact, handy, still very lightweight firearm. Let's go ahead and make sure the gun's unloaded. We're going to push our cylinder latch, and it's empty. Now, one of the big things about this that's different than most of your little snub-nosed revolvers is that it does fire 9mm. And this is not a revolver round. It doesn't have a rim case to it. And because of that, we need moon clips. As you can see, we have them set here. It comes with 3 moon clips, and it's a 5-shot revolver. These moon clips actually are really pretty easy to load and unload, which is unusual for moon clips. And we'll look at that in a few minutes. But one of the big things about this revolver is that when you open it up, you can, with the moon clips, it makes it super fast to reload. And then when you unload, it actually just drops it out, and you have your shells in the moon clips. Now, this gun can fire with the 9mm shell just dropped in, but it doesn't have the rim, and there's a little bit of a space there. The big problem is you will get a little bit of traction with your cylinder rod, but when these have been fired, they're usually pretty stout in there. So you're probably going to have to pop them out with something. But it's not really made to fire these without the moon clips. Now, the one thing about your standard revolver is you have a rimmed case, and here with the 9, it's pretty much a straight-walled case. So what's going to happen is this is going to rest on the cylinder base, while as the 9mm will not. Now, there is one thing about 9mm in a revolver, because these are not crimped. And with your .357 Magnum and your .38, they have a crimped base right here to the bullet. And you're not getting that with your semi-automatic. So one of the problems can happen is that once you fire a number of rounds through here, the bullets will actually start to come out of the case. Now, one of the things that Ruger said, because I've heard a lot about this and I've done a lot of research on it, the only safety issue is that the bullet will come so far out that it will lock up the cylinder. But even firing it with the bullet partially out is not a safety feature. It's not a safety problem. If anything, you might get a squib load in here. That would be the number one thing. But because you're going to have less pressure in here, the more the bullet kind of unseats. Now, Ruger says that your typical SAMI-spec ammunition will not come loose. But you need to test these out and to make sure the ammunition you're using is going to be good quality ammunition. You drop in your moon clip, you fire 4 rounds. When you pull it out, you just check that remaining round to see how it does. And so if you're starting to have problems, then you know that you need to go to a different type of ammunition. But according to Ruger, that's not a big problem. But on the forums and when I made Instagram posts, it was like all hell was breaking loose. And two, there are some people that have actually had real experience with that. So the big thing is make sure that you have the right ammo. Now, what I love about 9mm, again, is that you can just drop it in. I mean, it's a super fast reload. Much faster than your standard HKS type reloaders where you have to actually turn the notch. This makes it really fast to load and unload. Now again, it is a 5-shot revolver. The barrel is 1.87 inches, so it's just under 2 inches. Again, it is stainless steel. It is crowned. The sights just have a kind of a U-notch or square notch sight, and then at the front here we have just a white blade post. And this is removable. You can change these out if you want. It also has one of the Hogue tamers. And this grip is a little bit larger than some of your other grips, but you can pull this off and add different grips that fit your standard LCR revolvers. It's 6.5 inches in length and it's 4.5 inches in height. Now you'll notice this seam that runs all the way through. All this is polymer all the way down through the grip peg. This is going to give you a lot less weight with the firearm. And yet it's mated really perfectly with the stainless steel. I mean, actually the gun itself is really well finished. And it just looks beautiful. I mean, it's definitely Ruger quality. And Ruger is known for their revolvers, and the LCR has been a very popular concealed carry option. It makes it really funny to me because, we've had all the semi-automatic striker fire pistols and everybody's carrying them, but people still tend to kind of gravitate toward the revolver. And I'm one of those guys. Every once in a while, I love taking a revolver out to the range. A lot of times, I'll carry revolvers. I've carried this 442 for years. Just off and on, I just want to carry it. It does limit your self-defense capability because you only have 5 rounds. But I think that's one place where the moon clip really comes into play because you can just load this quick. You can have a couple of these in your pockets. Now, one of the things you want to be careful of is not to bend the clip, because if you bend it, you're going to have some problems. It's not going to fit right into the cylinder. And so even in this configuration, you want to make sure if you're having these as a backup that you have them in some kind of secure way not to bend your moon clip. The moon clips are readily available. In fact, I got a couple of these packs, these 3 packs. I think it was on just eBay. I ordered them and they just hold up. And I would recommend getting some because while we were at the range, we did lose one of these. But this is really easy to do and you can keep those loaded and it's really simple to unload. Now the trigger is a friction reducing cam, so it makes it really smooth and no stacking. That's one of the big things about the Rugers to me that kind of surpass the Smith & Wessons. A lot of your snub-nosed Smith & Wesson revolvers, they actually have a pretty hefty trigger pull. This is the model 442, it's the Centennial. It is a double action only. And then we have the Airlight, and this is the 351C. This one is in 22 Magnum. And it has a really hefty trigger pull. With the Ruger, it's actually very smooth. And I just want to show you, just very smooth all the way out. And then you have a nice break. Of course, you can shoot it single action by pulling the hammer back, and that's going to make a much lighter pull on the trigger. And really, when I'm doing accuracy or anything like that, I like to pull the hammer back. But typically, in a self-defense situation, you're going to shoot it just like this in double action. You'll notice the hammer comes back every time. And again, you can pull the hammer back, and then you can fire in single action. And now, one of the things also is dry firing this handgun is perfectly safe for the firearm, according to Ruger. Just make sure you don't have any ammunition around. And these guns are safe to shoot plus P. Any kind of factory ammunition made for 9mm is going to work in this firearm. Now this does have a transfer bar, and so inside here you'll notice that bar just came up and blocked the firing pin. And it is connected with the trigger. The only way that transfer bar is going to drop is if you pull the trigger and it'll release the transfer bar. So that makes this drop safe. So if you happen to drop this on concrete, it's not going to fire the handgun. And then two, your next safety is just the double action trigger pull. I mean, it is pretty hefty. We'll check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 9 pounds, 7.1 ounces. 9 pounds, 7.4 ounces. Single action, 4 pounds, 6.7 ounces. We have the Ruger LCR 9mm, the Smith & Wesson Model 442 Centennial Air Weight in 38 Special, and then we have one of the Smith & Wesson Air Lights in 22 Magnum. And we're just going to kind of compare that a little bit, just for fun. And we want to thank Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammo. We have 9mm, we have the 38 Special, and then we also have just some CCI Mini Mags. Taking the LCR 9mm down to the range, honestly I didn't know what to expect. I've been shooting 38s and these style revolvers for a long time, and so I've really expected it to be much less recoil. To be honest with you, 9mm is a high pressure round, and so you're getting really some significant recoil out of this. It's not really that bad, and to be honest with you, I was shooting a Model 642 Smith & Wesson in 38 Special right beside it, and really the 9mm was actually less recoil than the Smith & Wesson, but it definitely is significant. Now, one of the keys to shooting the LCR 9 is to get a good high grip on the grip. Make sure that the web of your hand is back there behind it, because that definitely helps you to mitigate the recoil. It just brings it down quicker. But overall, it's a pleasure to shoot. I mean, it's 5 rounds. I love being able to slip in that moon clip. It makes it so easy and so fast. This is much easier to reload than your 38 Special. And so that definitely is a big advantage. And of course, as we've talked about, you know, the crimp on the 9mm is much less than on your standard revolver rounds. That's one thing you definitely want to watch out for. But just taking it to the range and shooting it, whether one-handed, you know, and getting those rounds on target, or shooting two-hand, which is typically my choice. You seem to have more control over the firearm. But it's definitely a great pointing handgun. One thing that I do like are the sights, just that blacked out with that front little white at the top. It allows you to see it. But really, for what you're going to use this for, it's up close and personal, and really you just point it and shoot. Now, shooting at double action, it was really easy. I mean, it is a lesser trigger pull than it is on most of your Smith & Wessons. But, you know, shooting at single action to get that accuracy really helps. But typically when I'm shooting this in a self-defense situation, I would definitely go with the double action. So make sure that you do practice with double action. One thing when I first started into guns, the revolver, I typically would bring the hammer back because it was just a lesser trigger pull, and it seemed to be able to get the rounds on target better. But to be honest, you really need to train shooting at double action, because that is what you'll be using in a self-defense situation. We also brought out a Smith & Wesson in 22 Magnum, and it was so soft shooting compared to the 9. Of course, with the 38 Special, you know, you did get an increase in recoil. Bumping this up to a 357 Magnum would really be a handful, but yet those are a lot of fun to shoot.
The one thing about revolvers is they're just pretty simple. I mean, you just take it, you pull the trigger as long as it's loaded, and it fires. So it gives you a lot of confidence with these firearms. There's no slide holding back. There's no safety as far as having to manipulate the firearm. And we have a full shroud here around the cylinder bar, and so it just protects that. The latch comes out really well, and this is really free spinning on this cylinder. Really, for cleaning, this is about all you need to do, is to just clean out your cylinder, clean out your barrel, make sure that debris and everything like that is away from these areas. You can take it down further, but really it's not recommended. You may want to take your grips off and clean them up. But really the maintenance on a revolver is pretty minimal.
Now, as far as pros and cons of 9mm and 38, the 9mm is going to be a little easier, especially when you have your moon clips. It's going to be faster to load. A lot of us already carry 9mm handguns, so you've got the ammunition available. Of course, this is double action only, but they also make the LCR in double action only. And of course, there's a number of different calibers, including 22, 22 Magnum, 9mm, 38 Special, and 357 Magnum. And of course, Smith & Wesson has comparable models as well. But one big downside to the 9mm is what we talked about with the bullets coming loose from the case. That is a possibility, and again, you need to check and make sure that the ammo you're using is going to be up to SAMI specs, and it should be fine. But the big thing is when you're using ammunition at the range, make sure you check to see how the bullet's doing. Because again, it's not really a safety issue as far as firing the gun. The safety issue is that if it gets jammed in some way, in a self-defense situation, that can cost you your life. But from all that I've read, which it can be a problem, it's not really that common. And one thing I would definitely do is not use any kind of reloads unless I was doing the reloading. I was putting a slight crimp on the end of the brass to the bullet. I think the trigger on the LCR is a little smoother, a little less than your standard Smith & Wesson J-frame revolvers. And especially in the original LCR, they just seem to be really easy to pull that trigger. With the LCRx, you're getting a little extra weight over the standard LCR. And of course, that's just a choice between if you want just the double action only or the single action double action. So to me, the only real downside to this firearm is the possibility of your 9mm bullet coming loose from the case. So then again, just check your ammo, make sure you're good, and you should be fine. Now the retail price on Ruger is $699, but you can buy this for considerably less at your local gun shop typically. Honestly, I don't really remember exactly what I paid, but it was considerably less than $699. More about the $550 range, I believe. And so it gets it down there to where it's not super expensive. One of the things though about revolvers is it just takes more to make them. There's more fitting than your standard semi-automatic, especially striker fire pistol. That's one of the reasons why the prices on your revolvers are as high as they are. But going back to shooting revolver is just a lot of fun. It's a totally different experience than shooting your semi-automatic. So it makes it really just puts you in a whole new world of shooting. And guys, I love guns, and so it just makes it nice to have different options. And this does make a super lightweight companion for concealed carry. And then throw in your moon clips, makes it quick to load and unload. And again, I want to thank my Patreon members for making this purchase possible. If you want to support us here on YouTube, go to patreon.com/suit00. Guys, if you depend on a firearm for self-defense, whether concealed carry or even home defense, having some kind of legal protection is vital. I'm a member of the USCCA. I've been a member for the past 3 years, and it is just peace of mind. You know that someone has your back if you ever get yourself in a tough situation where you have to draw your firearm. If you are carrying concealed, you should definitely have some kind of legal protection. Now, I'll have a link down below in the description to the USCCA membership page. It is an affiliate link, and I know that if anything ever goes down, I have a friend with USCCA. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Ruger, okay, which is an all aluminum. Is it all aluminum? Ruger offers the LCR. Ruger. Now I picked this. Okay. So you drop in your stripper clip. Right. No 38.